So the odd thing is, and I see this continuously, people feel they can let go of their darkness that really accrues and builds within them, and they just got to get it out. They save it for family. Now, it's tragically ironic, but it is true, because people who have this great buildup of darkness feel they have to let it out. They actually don't know what to do with the buildup. So when you sit there and take it, what you're saying is, well, here's what you do with the buildup. You take it out on me. You're not helping them. You are not helping them. Because what they need to do is learn how to deal with that darkness, with that pain. And you cannot talk them out of it. Now, there's a way. If you feel, look, it's my duty not to enable this, not to be a co-conspirator. Whatever I'm going to do, I'm not going to be the one that allows you to live there. Okay? So you have a duty to extract yourself, get out of the situation, not be the lightning rod for that lightning wrath of another person's truly distressed inner self. You also have a duty to yourself. Because remember, we have a duty not to suffer unnecessarily. Now, I'm extracting that from the Bible, where the Bible oftentimes says, I'm giving you these mitzvot. And then God explains, la tov lach, for your good. Because I want your lives to be good. We say, ashrei yoshvei vetecha. What is osher? Deep well-being. The people who live in God's house, in God's abode, have deep well-being. So try to imagine that whatever else you're doing in life, you want to create this sense around yourself, that I live in the abode of the divine, because there's osher there. There's deep well-being. Well, your duties are supposed to create goodness, and we're supposed to feel osher. So when a person intrudes on you in an unfair, unreasonable, destructive way, you have a duty to yourself. Now, the Hasidic tradition calls this, and I believe the rabbinic tradition as well, the duty to your soul. Now, we oftentimes don't think of this, of duties to the soul, but it's a very, very common idea in the Hasidic tradition, because the Hasidic tradition, which is based in Kabbalah, has this idea, and if it's your first time hearing, it's going to sound a little bit strange, that your soul is an exiled part of God. Your soul is an aspect of the divine, you might say a fragment of the divine, given to you so that throughout your life you can make it whole, you can repair it, and when you finish your time in this world, you deliver it back and say, I made it better. So if you don't care for your soul, that aspect of the divine in you is truly in exile. So the godliness within you says, you got to get out of here. You're a child of God. You are not supposed to be taking this. And you go, shh, I'll handle it. I got this one. So if you could really listen to the voice of your soul, of your neshama says, this has to stop. And if you can't make them stop, you got to get out. So you have an actual obligation to your soul. Now, when I've actually used this at times, I'd say almost always in the case of a woman in an abusive relationship, and she came to some of my classes, kind of came out as an enabler at the end of a class one day, and she said, but he drinks and yells because he's in trouble, and I feel that's what a wife does, for better or for worse. By the way, there's an example of a slogan that has caused more misery probably than any other slogan. For better or for worse doesn't mean when you're at your worst, I just take it. For better or for worse has something to do with fate, not volition. Right? So for better or for worse, it says as long as everybody's doing their best. So I said, you have an obligation to your soul. You are a child of God. And we're not allowed to injure God's name. So try to imagine you're a child of God, you're bearing the divine presence, and this other person is attacking you. Okay, your ego self has learned to take it, but your soul is not supposed to, because your soul is, as it were, the God's presence. And we are not allowed to blaspheme the presence of God. And you're permitting it. So she wouldn't do it for herself, but she did it for God. She did it for God. So on one hand, you're not doing the other person a favor. There's no duty for that. Secondly, you're not doing yourself any good because it's hurting you. And third, you have a duty to God not to allow people to treat you this way if you can. So notice when we think about, when we put it in sense of duty, For a person who feels a duty bound, they oftentimes they're doing the wrong thing. So that really leads to the question, what are my duties? Okay, so first of all, I'm saying duty as a framework, not as an answer, because your ego self will oftentimes give you the precisely wrong answer. But as long as you start with, what's my duty here? What am I supposed to do? So if you're feeling angry, resentful, and so forth, you can say, let me just push all that stuff aside. Right now, those are just surplus emotions. What is my duty here? And when you start analyzing, I can't say what your answer is going to be, but it frames the question in the best way.